In the golden expanse of Kenya's Masai Mara Reserve, the silence of the savannah was shattered by a sound that stopped Nathan in his tracks, a desperate, piercing cry. A seasoned wildlife ranger, Nathan had heard many animal calls, but this one was different. It wasn't a roar or a growl. It was a scream for help. Without hesitation, he sprinted toward the sound, heart pounding, instinct driving him forward. As he pushed through thick brush, a horrifying sight emerged. A terrified lion cub, barely a few weeks old, cornered by a group of armed poachers. The tiny creature trembled, its eyes wide with terror as the men closed in. Nathan didn't think, he acted. Letting out a fierce shout, he charged forward with nothing but a heavy branch in hand. The poachers, startled by the sudden appearance of a determined ranger, panicked and fled into the wilderness. Breathless, Nathan dropped to his knees beside the cub, who was still frozen with fear. As their eyes met, something unspoken passed between them, a spark of trust, a silent plea. Gently, Nathan scooped the cub into his arms. He didn't know it yet, but this was the beginning of a bond that would defy nature itself. Nathan raced back to the ranger station, the fragile cub nestled against his chest, barely breathing. The sun was dipping below the horizon, casting long shadows across the plains, as if nature itself was holding its breath. Back at the sanctuary, the staff scrambled into action. Blankets, heating pads, and emergency milk formula were brought in. The cub, whom Nathan named Kazi, meaning warrior in Swahili, was weak, dehydrated, and covered in small cuts. Every hour was a battle for survival. Nathan barely slept, refusing to leave Kazi's side. He spoke softly to him through the night, offering warmth, safety, and the promise of protection. The days were tense, each heartbeat a fragile thread between life and death. But slowly, against all odds, Kazi began to respond. He opened his eyes one morning, locking them with Nathan's, a flicker of life returning to his golden gaze. He started to feed, to lift his head, to nuzzle against Nathan's touch. The entire sanctuary watched in awe as the little cub, once on death's doorstep, began to heal. A fierce bond had formed, one not of ownership, but of trust and gratitude. Nathan had saved Kazi's life, but neither of them knew just how much they would soon need each other again. As weeks turned into months, Kazi blossomed under Nathan's care. The once fragile cub transformed into a bold, curious young lion, his eyes brighter, his steps surer. Every morning, he would greet Nathan with a soft growl and a playful pounce, shadowing him through the sanctuary grounds. They explored the tall grasses, played under acacia trees, and shared quiet moments beneath the African sky. But Nathan knew this golden chapter wouldn't last forever. Kazi was not meant to live behind fences. He was a child of the wild, born to rule the plains, not pace a pen. So, Nathan began the painful process of preparing Kazi for independence. Training became tougher, their time together shorter. Nathan taught him how to stalk, how to listen, how to survive. But Kazi still looked at him with the eyes of a cub, not yet understanding what was coming. At night, Nathan lay awake, torn between pride and heartbreak. He had raised Kazi to be strong, but was he strong enough to let him go? The wild was calling. The moment was drawing near. Nathan had given Kazi life. Now he had to give him freedom. But letting go of the one soul who trusted you unconditionally, that's a different kind of courage. As Kazi grew into a strong, fearless adolescent, the sanctuary could no longer contain his spirit. Nathan had known this day would come, the day Kazi would return to the wild where he belonged. But nothing could prepare him for the ache that clutched his chest. Over the next few weeks, Nathan trained Kazi for survival, teaching him how to hunt, track, and defend himself. Each lesson felt like a countdown. Their once playful romps turned into strategic drills. And while Kazi roared with pride and strength, Nathan's smile masked a deep sorrow. The final morning arrived cloaked in golden mist. The transport truck rumbled across the reserve, carrying Kazi to the release site. Nathan walked beside him in silence, the lion's powerful form towering now, no longer a cub, but a king in the making. At the edge of the reserve, Nathan opened the gate. Kazi stepped out, sniffed the air, then turned back, locking eyes with Nathan one last time. That look, full of trust, memory, and something deeper, was more than a goodbye. It was a thank you, and with that, Kazi vanished into the tall grass. Nathan stood motionless, the silence louder than any roar. His heart broke, but it also soared. Kazi was free. Years passed. Nathan remained devoted to his work at the sanctuary, but no matter how busy the days became, a part of his heart always wandered the plains, wondering about Kazi. Had the young cub survived? Had he become the king Nathan hoped he'd grow into? One hazy morning, as the sun rose over the Masai Mara, Nathan heard a deep, thunderous roar echo across the savannah. It wasn't just any roar. It carried weight, power, and something hauntingly familiar. His breath caught. Could it be? Grabbing his binoculars, Nathan scanned the horizon, heart pounding. And then, he saw him. A lion, massive and magnificent, stood atop a rocky ridge. The mane was fuller, darker, the eyes unmistakable. It was Kazi. Their eyes met across the vast golden field. Nathan stepped forward cautiously, unsure if time had erased what they once shared. But as he drew closer, Kazi began to descend the ridge, slowly, steadily, without aggression. Then, something incredible happened. Kazi nuzzled against Nathan's chest, releasing a low, affectionate purr that vibrated through the ranger's soul. Tears welled in Nathan's eyes. Against all odds, the wild hadn't taken their bond. It had preserved it. Kazi had returned, not just as a lion, but as a friend. A silent legend. Come home. As the years rolled on, the Masai Mara flourished, and so did Kazi. Now a fully grown lion, he ruled his domain with strength and grace, but always carried the calm spirit Nathan had once nurtured. Nathan continued his work at the sanctuary, often sharing Kazi's story to inspire the next generation of conservationists. But one evening, during a guided patrol with new recruits, a chilling sound broke through the dusk air, a lion's roar, laced with fury and desperation. Nathan's instincts kicked in. Something was wrong. He followed the sound into a clearing, and what he saw made his blood run cold. A younger lion, injured and surrounded by new poachers, clearly targeted for the illegal wildlife trade. Before Nathan could react, a blur of golden fur thundered through the brush. It was Kazi. With a terrifying snarl, Kazi lunged at the poachers, forcing them to scatter in fear. The young lion limped toward Nathan as Kazi stood guard, his amber eyes burning with purpose. Nathan knelt beside the injured animal, and Kazi looked at him, just like he had years ago, as if to say, "Now it's our turn to protect." The cycle of compassion had come full circle. Kazi wasn't just a survivor, he was now a guardian. In a world where survival often overshadows compassion, the story of Nathan and Kazi reminds us of something profound. Love has no species, and trust can bridge even the wildest of gaps. Nathan didn't just rescue a lion cub, he nurtured a soul, and in return, that soul became a protector of the very land they both cherished. Their journey proves that one act of kindness can ripple through time, inspiring courage, healing wounds, and rewriting destinies. Kazi, once a helpless cub, grew into a majestic guardian, not just of the wild, but of the values Nathan embodied: bravery, loyalty, and heart. In the end, the wild gave back what it once nearly lost, and their bond became a legacy. So if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe for more powerful stories that celebrate the extraordinary love between humans and the animals they vow to protect.